is up? Welcome to my channel. My name is Franca and I'm glad you're here. Today we're doing another video on the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni situation. They are coming out with lawsuits faster than I can read through all of them. On May 2nd, 2023, the Writers Guild of America, made up of the two American labor unions representing more than 16,000 writers in film, television, radio, and online media, went on strike in connection with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The film temporarily halted production in June 2023 as a result of WGA picketing. On June 15, 2023, Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni announced the continued halted production of the film due to the ongoing WGA strike and the lost days experienced from picketing. While the WGA strike was underway, on July 14, 2023, the actors union known as SGA AFTRA, a labor union that represents about 1,600,000 people in the entertainment industry, including actors, recording artists, radio personalities, and other media professionals, began to strike due to labor disputes with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The WGA strike ended on September 27, 2023, and the SGA AFTRA strike ended on November 9, 2023. Before returning to production, Miss Lively attempted to address and resolve the problems on set and requested that Wayfair agreed to address the conditions described above. What was the point of all of the labor strikes? And like one of the other videos, she mentioned something about like him like trying to go against or like trying to get her to go over picket lines, but I feel like they didn't say anything. Or maybe they're going to. I should keep reading before I start talking. On November 9th, 2023, Miss Lively's attorney provided Wayfair's attorney with a document entitled Protections for Return to Production. In conveying the Protections for Return to Production document, Miss Lively requested that Wayfair agree to implement a plan that would enable everyone to return to work and complete the film with adequate protections to ensure a safe set moving forward. On November 11th, 2023, counsel for Wayfair indicated that Wayfair, Sony, and production respectfully acknowledge that your client has concerns regarding safety, professionalism, and workplace culture. Although our perspective differs in many aspects, ensuring a safe environment for all involved is paramount, irrespective of differing viewpoints. Regardless your outlined requests, we find most of them not only reasonable, but also essential for the benefit of all parties involved. See, I think it's weird that they put in like differing perspectives. They weren't seeing eye to eye on the list of like demands, we'll say, but then they also say benefit for all parties involved, which makes me think like maybe on Justin's side he's like, Blake, you're the one doing that, and then on Blake's side she's like, no, you're doing that, and they both in their own situations and the way they perceive things are thinking the person's doing it, and they're like, okay, like this will help everyone if it's just outlined that neither of us can do this. That's what that makes me think. On November 15th, 2023, Wayfair, through It Ends With Us movie, LLC, agreed to the terms in their contractual rider executed on January 19th, 2024 and attached here. Among the contract rider's provisions, the first provision required an intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Miss Lively on set, which is fair, especially for a lot of these scenes. The second provision required that, with respect to artists, any and all rehearsal, filming, reviewing of video playback, or dallies, and or other interaction with any scene involving simulated sex, nudity, or partial nudity shall be restricted to those persons with essential business reasons for being present, as approved by Miss Lively and Todd Black as further described in the nudity rider attached. The third provision required that there is to be no spontaneous improvising of any scenes involving intimate sex, physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity with respect to Miss Lively. Scenes involving Miss Lively that involves kissing, depictions of sex intercourse, and or any other intimate sex, physical touching, must be contained in the screenplay. The fourth provision required that physical touching and or comments on Miss Lively's appearance must only be made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to Miss Lively personally, except as written in the screenplay or as strictly required in connection with makeup or costume preparation. There is to be no physical touching, including hugging, of Miss Lively, her on-set personnel, and or her employees. Once again, who are these employees? Who? Other than maybe like her assistant, because I see it as like when you're an actor, obviously like the producers or like the directors or something. I've never worked in a movie before, but I'd assume they'd be in charge. You know what I mean? Like they're like the bosses, right? And like when they hire people, you know what I mean? So I wonder who she says was her employees. Maybe also her driver. I think we read earlier Justin had said something in the car with her driver. You aren't forced to drive him anywhere. Like, that's your driver. Like, his job is to drive you around. Like, that doesn't mean you have to have guests in, you know what I mean? So I don't know what she means by her employees. But also, if her employees were there, wouldn't that give her like someone to testify on the stand for her? I wonder if this is even going to go to like court, to be honest. The fifth provision required there are to be no discussions with Miss Lively or personal experiences with sex or nudity, including as it relates to conduct with spouses or others. The sixth provision required that no one will attempt to enter, interrupt, pressure, or request entrance to Miss Lively's trailer while she is in a state of undress for any reason. The seventh provision required that there shall be no rehearsal or filming of Miss Lively, including Miss Lively's approved body double, of any nudity, partial nudity, and or simulated sex except expressly permitted in accordance with the nudity rider. Any such footage of Miss Lively or Miss Lively's body double previously shot without the nudity rider in place must not be used without Miss Lively's and her legal representation's prior written consent. See, that makes me think, I know many times in this like lawsuit she mentioned like other people. Maybe Blake's body double was also saying like, hey, like I'm really uncomfortable, like some of the like I'm getting weird things said to me too, which I guess is fair, but it's weird that she is like, any footage of Miss Lively or her body double has to have Miss Lively's consent, which is weird. But I guess maybe that's because people could see her body double as her or perceive her body double as her in the film, because like, technically you shouldn't be able to tell someone's a body double on the screen, I guess. Or at least that's how they want to make it seem. They want to make it seem like it's Blake Lively throughout. So I guess maybe that's why she has that written in there. The 10th provision required that there shall be no retaliation of any kind against Miss Lively for raising concerns about the conduct described in this letter or for these requirements. Any changes in attitude, sarcasm, marginalization, or other negative behavior, either on set or otherwise, including during publicity and promotional work as a result of these requests, retaliatory and unacceptable, and will be met with immediate action. The 12th provision required that Wayfair will engage an additional experienced A-level producer approved by Miss Lively. Todd Black is hereby approved. The approved producer to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule and overseeing logistics, problem solving, all that stuff. The 15th provision required that any rehearsal or shooting involving Miss Lively and or other performers depicting the character of Lily that involves nudity, including partial nudity or simulated sex, must conduct strictly in accordance with the nudity rider and must adhere to approved script. See, that makes me think that maybe the girl playing younger Lily, Blake Lively, and possibly the stunt double were all maybe having the same experience. Or on the other hand, it could also be Blake wanting control over the way her character is perceived because she's playing her. But I guess you can see it either way. The 16th provision provided that any and all day players that participate in any way in scenes with Miss Lively involving nudity, partial nudity, or simulated sex must engage through customary industry talent agencies and not through personal connections of the director and or other producer. The 17th provision required that at Miss Lively's election, an all-hands in-person meeting before production resumes will include the director, the existing producers, the Sony representative, and the approved producer, Miss Lively and Miss Lively's designated representatives, to confirm and approve a plan for implementation of all the above that will be adhered to for the physical and emotional safety of Miss Lively, her employees, and all cast and crew moving forward. One thing I would like to know, like throughout this entire lawsuit, it's always saying approved by Miss Lively, someone who's been approved by Miss Lively, which I think the way Justin's framing his lawsuit is that Blake was taking over the film, and I don't think that helps her in any case. If in her like lawsuit she's like, this person has to be approved by me, you know what I mean? Obviously you could say that she has these people approved because the people that are supposed to be doing this aren't doing their job properly, or they're creating these uncomfortable environments, but regardless, I don't think it makes it not look like she's trying to take over aspects of the film by saying this person has to be approved. This has to be approved by Miss Lively. You know what I mean? The all hands in-person meeting provided for in the contract contract rider occurred on January 4th, 2024, before production resumed as described above. The meeting was attended by Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, producer Alex Sachs, producer Todd Black, and Sony's Angie Giannetti, as well as Miss Lively and her husband, who attended as Miss Lively's request as another designated representative, as provided for in the contract given the subject matter of the meeting. At the January 4th, 2024 meeting, the parties discussed a list of 20 examples of the behaviors that gave rise to the contract rider from her note. These behaviors are listed in full earlier in this complaint in paragraph 3. Neither Mr. Baldoni nor Mr. Heath denied the veracity of Miss Lively's examples. Oh, okay, so just the accuracy. Miss Lively requested that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath agree that such behaviors would no longer take place as memorialized in the language of the writer, and Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath agreed. So now we're on to promoting the film. Production of the film resumed on January 5th, 2024 and concluded February 9th, 2024. To be honest, a lot of this lawsuit is just telling me things I don't care about. Like, I don't care about that. I don't care when production was filmed or when it resumed. Like, that's like an unneeded line. But I guess they need like backstory, because I feel like the judges or like the jury might know. I feel like they both decided they wanted like jury trials for their cases, but I feel like it's gonna be hard for them to find jury members, to be honest, because as a jury member, don't you like have to be able to like not know anything about this? Like, you can't hear anything about this case. You can't already have like a pre-judgment of the case, and I feel like they're gonna have a hard time. In connection with the film's public release, Miss Lively and the rest of the cast actively promoted the film in accordance with the marketing plan for the film. Wayfair had embraced and on the information and belief had formally approved of this marketing plan. The marketing plan and related talking points expressly required Miss Lively, as well as all other cast and crew engaged in promotional activities, to focus more on her character's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about DV, and to avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. By all means, that's how she should have done the promo for the film, because she had to. But on the other hand, at any point, she could have said, no one's gonna like this. This is an awful marketing plan. Any one of those cast members, any one of those crew could have said that. And I feel like after they got so much hate for it, they should have pivoted. And they didn't. And that's not solely on Blake Lively. 100% not solely on her. It is on every single person who signed their name, who said yes to that marketing plan. It is on all of them, especially whoever the heck came up with that terrible marketing plan. As detailed above, Miss Lively and fellow cast members promoted the film in accordance with the talking points and marketing plan during appearances on red carpets, interviews, press junkets, fan events, and pop-up experiences leading to the film's release. Mr. Baldoni publicly embraced the marketing plan. In early May 2024, Mr. Baldoni appeared at a floral-themed trailer launch event, included him personally making flower bouquets for influencers, a photo opportunity, and film-branded latte art. As late as June 2024, Mr. Baldoni appeared at a pop-up of Lily Bloom's flower shop in Century City, California, where he held a long stem rose microphone and playfully gave tours of the shop to influencers. In a TikTok interview posted that day, Mr. Baldoni excitedly walks through the pop-up and states that he will give tours all day, every day until August 9th. My thing about the promo with the flowers, I don't necessarily think that people were so mad about the flowers and the way the movie was being advertised, because to me, the floral theme makes sense. She had like a floral shop. Having flowers in the background was gonna happen regardless. There's even flowers on the cover of It Ends With Us, which 100% makes sense. No one's mad about like the floral theme as much as they are about the words that came out of Blake's mouth. The words she said to describe the movie, how she was talking about the movie. I feel like people don't care as much about the floral themed trailer launch event or anything like that. I feel like they were more mad about the way she was saying nothing about DV and everything about flowers. Every time she was talking, it was about flowers or wardrobe. So I feel like adding this in does nothing for her, because it's not him talking about flowers. It's not him not mentioning anything about DV, because in his interviews, he was mentioning DV and survivors and stuff like that, things she and the rest of the cast weren't doing. And I do feel like she is getting the brunt of that hate for that terrible marketing plan, because A, most of the interviewers had questions for her because she's the biggest name on this film. So when she's doing interviews with these 4 other actors, you know what I mean? They were asking her questions about Ryan, this, that. They were asking about Blake because she is the biggest name. You know what I mean? And I think the other thing is because she's so big and has a fan base of her own, that obviously she's going to take the biggest hit out of this because she's doing most of the talking in the interviews. In advance of the release of the film, nearly all cast members chose to appear in public separately from Mr. Baldoni given his on-set behavior. Mr. Baldoni became concerned that the public would discover that something is much bigger under the surface, on information and belief alluding to the complaints lodged by Miss Lively and others. At that point, Mr. Baldoni pivoted away from the film's marketing plan to explain his absence from the rest of the cast. He shifted his focus away from a message of female triumph to instead capitalize on female trauma. After the film's premiere, Mr. Baldoni changed his Instagram profile, canceled lighthearted social media posts, and instructed his team to look for survivors' reactions and support, all in an effort to quickly shift his own public narrative to focus solely on survivors and domestic violence organizations. The way that's worded makes it sound like how dare he use his platform to focus on survivors and domestic violence organizations. If you were doing a movie on DV, those are like the 2 most important things. Focusing on survivors, telling stories, allowing people a space to share their own experience. Like, that's crazy to me that they're like, instead of talking about flowers and wardrobe, he decided to talk about survivors and DV organizations. And that's just dumb to me. I think when you're talking about a topic like this, it is very, very important to reach out with organizations because this movie is going to start conversation as they hoped it would, but it is going to start conversations, and you can't just have the film be out there and be like, actually, we're done. My hands are tied. Can't do anything else. I acted. I did the press, whatever. Like, it's not my problem anymore. Please go watch my movie. Like, that's literally it. No, you're starting these conversations about these topics, and people who watch this movie are gonna want to discuss that. They're gonna want to discuss their own experiences. Other people who watch this are going to feel like they want to help, you know what I mean? Help people in these situations. And so giving them a place to turn to help is what should have been happening, and it very much was not. Miss Abel cautioned Mr. Baldoni that this shift might be too drastic too soon. Still, Mr. Baldoni insisted on a TikTok strategy, and that his promotional activities for the film should seek to amplify what he described as survivor content. Justin to Jennifer. Hey, just landed. What is the TikTok strategy? I'd like you guys to start posting me only talking about domestic violence and clips and why this movie is so important. This text is not damning to me. The way he's saying you should only be posting about me talking about DV and clips of why this movie is so important. That is what should be happening. Like, that's how this launch should have gone and the PR should have gone. He's doing exactly what he should have done. What the public was asking everyone to do, what the public was upset that nobody was doing. He was doing it. So nothing about that makes me think he's such a terrible guy.